You've barely spoken to this person, but your mind has already imagined the dates, the fights, and making up after. And the scary part, it felt real. Not like a daydream you chose to have, like something your brain just started running without permission. You didn't ask for this. You were just living your life. And then this person showed up, maybe in class, maybe at work, maybe just walking past you once, and something shifted. Now you're lying in bed at 1 a.m., replaying a conversation that lasted 40 seconds, analyzing their tone, rewinding the moment they looked at you, wondering if it meant something. Your friends would laugh if they knew, so you don't tell anyone. You just carry it. And the scenarios keep coming. You've already imagined the first date, where you'd go, what you'd wear, what they'd say that would make you realize, yeah, this is it. You've imagined the arguments, what would start it, how it would escalate, and how you'd find your way back to each other. All of this from someone who doesn't know your middle name. But here's the thing, it's not just crushes. Your brain does this everywhere. You're about to send an important text, and before you hit send, you've already imagined every possible response. The good ones, the bad ones, the ones that would change everything. You're walking into a room full of people, and before you even open the door, you've already rehearsed what could go wrong, what someone might say, how you'd react, how you'd recover. You're waiting on news you can't control, and your brain already living in the worst version of it. Sound familiar? This is what your mind does all day, every day. Running scenarios that haven't happened, might never happen. And most people think this means something is wrong with them, that they're too anxious, too sensitive, too deep in their own head. But that's not what's happening. Here's what nobody explains. Your brain was built to simulate, not to live in the present moment, to run ahead of it, scanning for threats, testing outcomes before the risk is real. For thousands of years, this kept humans alive. You didn't survive by being relaxed. You survived by thinking 3 steps ahead, by imagining the danger before it arrived. So your brain never stopped. It just ran out of real threats and started applying that same system to texts, to people, to moments that haven't happened yet. That's not anxiety. That's an ancient survival system running in a world it wasn't built for. But here's where it gets really interesting. Your brain cannot fully separate imagination from reality. When you picture a scenario in detail, your body responds as if it's already happening. Your chest tightens, your mood shifts, your energy changes. For something that exists only in your head, which means you're not just imagining things, you're experiencing them just before they happen, or instead of them happening at all. And this is where it gets dangerous, because your brain doesn't have real information about how things will go. It fills in the gaps, and it almost always fills them in with the most extreme version, the best case, or the worst case, never just the normal case. So you fall in love with someone before you know them, or you dread a conversation before you have it, or you grieve an outcome before it's even decided, all from inside your own head. Now here's what nobody tells you. The scenario your brain keeps running, it's not a prediction, it's a question. Can I handle this? Will I be okay? What happens if this goes wrong? Your mind is searching for safety, and every time you spiral deeper into the scenario, you're trying to answer it. But here's the problem. The more you run the scenario, the more real it becomes. You start making decisions based on things that haven't happened. You pull back from people. You avoid situations. You protect yourself from outcomes that only exist in your imagination. And life starts shrinking, not because of what happened to you, because of what your brain convinced you was going to happen. There's something else happening too. Have you ever noticed? The scenarios are almost never neutral. Nobody lies in bed imagining a perfectly average conversation. Nobody rehearses a moment that goes exactly fine. Your brain goes to the extremes because extremes demand attention. They feel urgent. They feel important. So your mind keeps pulling you there, not to torture you, but because it genuinely believes that if it can just figure out every possible outcome, you'll finally feel safe. But the safety never comes because the scenarios never end. There's always another what if, always another version to run. And this is the cycle most people are stuck in without even realizing it. Not because they're broken, not because their mind is working against them, but because nobody ever told them what was actually happening. You were never too much, never too sensitive, never too deep in your head. You just have a mind that feels everything before it lands. That prepares for impact before it knows if impact is coming. That's not a flaw. That's actually one of the sharpest minds there is. The same brain that tortures you with scenarios at 2 a.m.
is the same brain that thinks 10 steps ahead, that feels things deeply, that never gets blindsided, that notices everything. You just never learned how to work with it, instead of letting it run on autopilot. Because here's the truth. The scenario is never the problem. The problem is believing it's real before it is. Your brain will always create stories. That's what it does. That's what it's for. But you get to decide how much power the unwritten ones have over you. You're not broken. You're not too much. You're just someone whose mind works ahead of the moment. And once you understand that, the scenarios don't stop, but they lose their grip because you finally know what they are. Just your brain doing its best to keep you safe in a world that doesn't always feel that way.